Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we are setting out on a really fascinating journey to demystify one of the absolute trickiest areas of English grammar. Yep, we are talking about the present perfect tense. If you have ever found yourself staring at a sentence, agonizing over whether you should use I did or I have done, well, you're in exactly the right place. We're going to build a rock-solid structural understanding of this tense that will literally stick with you for good. But first, let's just acknowledge a totally universal frustration that we've all felt. Why on earth is a past action called the present perfect? Honestly, it's a complete paradox. It kind of feels like a massive misnomer, right? I mean, if something already happened, why are we labeling it present? It is completely normal to feel a bit scrambled when your brain is trying to use a present tense to talk about a trip you took, or maybe a movie you saw days, months, or even years ago. But stick with me, because today we are going to completely solve this core mystery. So here is our roadmap for the explainer today. First up, the present perfect paradox. Second, the present perfect formula. Third, 5 ways to use it. Fourth, present perfect versus past simple. And finally, signals and common mistakes. Okay, let's dive into section 1, the present perfect paradox, a grammatical bridge. Think of the present perfect as a giant grammatical bridge. It literally connects an action that started way back in the past directly over to the present moment. And why does it do that? Because that past action is still relevant, it's still ongoing, or maybe it has a highly visible result right now. You see, the speaker isn't really concerned with the exact time the action happened. What they actually care about is its connection to the very moment they are speaking. The past is literally touching the present. I want you to keep this bridge image firmly in your mind throughout our whole explainer. Moving on to section 2, the present perfect formula. Subject plus have or has plus be 3. So how do we actually build this bridge? Well, in English, the mechanical structure of this tense revolves entirely around the auxiliary verbs have or has combined with what we usually call V3 or the past participle. For affirmative sentences, it's super simple. Subject plus have or has plus V3, like she has finished. To make it negative, you just drop a not right in the middle there, so it becomes I have not seen. And for interrogative, question sentences, you simply flip the auxiliary verb and the subject. Have you eaten? And just a quick reminder, we use has for third-person singular subjects, he, she, or it, and have for literally everything else. Now, I know exactly what you're thinking, and believe me, I completely empathize. That V3, the past participle, it's a huge pain point, and it's all because of English's infamous irregular verbs. While regular verbs happily just take an ed at the end, worked or played, irregular verbs kind of just do whatever they want. Go becomes gone, catch becomes caught, break becomes broken. Actually, there really is no magic trick here, unfortunately. These simply have to be memorized to make sure that grammatical bridge you're building is structurally sound. But trust me, investing the time to memorize these forms pays off absolutely massively for your fluency. All right, section 3, 5 ways to use it, or exactly when to cross the bridge. There are 5 specific use cases for this tense, and together they tell a really wonderful mini narrative of our lives. Number 1, actions continuing up to the present. So, things you started doing in the past and are still doing. Number 2, a past action that leaves a visible, tangible result right now. Number 3, our total life experiences up to this very second. Number 4, actions you have just completed mere moments ago. And number 5, actions you've repeated multiple times up to the present day. Let's look at a couple of these a bit more closely to see how they work. Think about this scenario for a second, which brilliantly illustrates the duration use case. Let's say the action starts in the past. You moved in, way back in 2010. You're still there in 2015, you're still hanging out there in 2020, and bridging directly to now, you are still living there. Because that action is completely uninterrupted and touches the present moment, you would say she has lived here since 2010. The bridge is perfectly intact from 2010 all the way to today. And here is a fantastic example of repeated actions from one of our sources. Sam's mother has won the lottery twice. Now, aside from Sam's mother being incredibly, ridiculously lucky, just notice the grammar there. We don't care when she won the lottery. Like, the specific dates don't matter. What we care about is the achievement, repeated over her lifespan up to the present moment. So we use the present perfect. When you encounter any situation where something has happened multiple times up to today, your reflex should immediately be to grab this tense. Let's move on to section 4, present perfect versus past simple, the ultimate showdown. We really need to look at these two completely different realities, because this is where a lot of folks get tripped up. Take the first sentence. I lost my keys yesterday. That's past simple. It was completely finished yesterday. The result? Well, you probably went and got new keys. The action is totally dead and buried in the past. But look at the second sentence. I've lost my keys. Present perfect. The exact time isn't mentioned, but the result is agonizingly present. You are quite literally locked out of your house right now. The past action has a direct, highly visible consequence today. Okay, now what's really interesting here is a slightly morbid, but honestly highly effective rule. Look at the first sentence. My great-grandmother went to Mexico. We use the past simple there, because the subject, the great-grandmother, is unfortunately no longer alive. Her life experiences are finished. They simply cannot connect to the present anymore. But in the second sentence, my brother has been to Mexico, we use the present perfect. Why? Because the brother is alive. His life is ongoing, and he could potentially go to Mexico again. Living subjects with ongoing life experiences, they require the present perfect bridge. So the absolutely crucial takeaway here is this. Definite, finished past time words completely burn the bridge to the present. If you have a word like yesterday, last week, or in 2010, you almost certainly must use the simple past. You literally cannot say, I have cleaned the house yesterday. Yesterday is over. The bridge is burned to the ground. But if you use an unfinished time word like today or this week, because, well, this week isn't over yet, the bridge is still standing, so you use the present perfect. I have cleaned the house today. Finally, Section 5, Signals and Common Mistakes. How to avoid native speaker traps. Here is a classic dilemma that trips up just about everyone. Since versus for. Both of these are massive, glaring signal words telling you that the present perfect is needed, but they do entirely different jobs. Since is your specific starting point. It answers the question, from when? For example, since 2020 or since Monday. For, on the other hand, is all about the duration of time. It answers the question, for how long? Like for 3 years or for a long time. Once you memorize that since equals the start and for equals the length, you will cross this bridge effortlessly every single time. But, here's where native speakers make it incredibly difficult for you to actually hear this tense in the wild. We almost always contract the auxiliary verbs. I have becomes I've. She has becomes she's. We haven't becomes we haven't. When it's spoken quickly in natural everyday speech, a phrase like I've done it or she's already left totally blends together. That little v and the s are very, very hard to hear. And that's exactly why practicing dictation and really listening closely for these tiny little contractions is the ultimate secret to mastering the present perfect in real everyday life. Well, we've covered the paradox, we broke down the formula, explored the rules, and navigated the traps. Now I want to leave you with a final, provocative thought to really lock this all in. What is an incredible experience you have had in your life? Take a brief moment and just answer that in your head. By thinking of an ongoing life experience right now, you are mentally practicing crossing that exact grammatical bridge from your past right into this very moment. Keep practicing it, and soon, reaching for the present perfect will become an absolute reflex. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and as always, keep learning.